What is up, you two? Really can't ever say that with a straight face.
You did not freeze this time, so it
Well,
did
that's
not look
good.
as funny on my end.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to episode 4 of Alec and Dave Talk About Shit. I'm Alec,
And I'm Dave.
and we're here to talk about some shit. It
Yep.
is Halloween today. I think my favorite holiday is today. Your favorite holiday? What's your favorite?
Oh,
Holiday? Are you
absolutely not. It's
No.
obviously your favorite holiday. Obviously.
Yeah.
It is nowhere near my favorite holiday.
You got what? Christmas?
Come on, dude. I have nieces and there's Christmas. Like, of course,
Yeah,
as
that's
long as
fair.
if you have little kids in your life, Christmas is your favorite holiday. Like, it just
Yeah.
is. It's so much fun.
I mean, little kids also get to be adorable on Halloween, though. You know, I've got some
Different.
adorable photos and videos of my niece this morning dressed up as a Dalmatian. It's great. Yeah. You
But
know,
the kids have different levels of excitement for the two holidays,
that is
right?
true.
Like,
That is true.
Halloween, they're excited. Christmas, it's like the best day of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't exactly heard of any kids who are like staying up all night because Halloween's tomorrow, and they're like,
Yeah, no,
I
like
just
they're too
can't get to
excited. Yeah,
sleep. Yeah. Yeah. That's all. Look, that's all fair. That's all fair. It's hard to argue against Christmas, you know? But I love the spooky season. I love Halloween. I love horror movies. And we are primarily going to talk about horror movies today. In particular, the big sort of horror release of this month, which was Black Phone 2. That would be sort of like our main event.
really, the only horror movie that was released this month, which was very strange to me.
Well, so no, there was one called Shelby Oaks that came out last week that I think is maybe a limited release.
That's what I'm saying. Like, only having one widespread horror movie like in October, that's crazy.
That's really nuts.
Crazy for the amount of horror movies that have come out this year.
Yeah, there have been an insane amount of horror movies, and also there are like good horror movies coming out in November too. So like, why is Osgood Perkins' new movie not an October release? You know?
Yeah,
like,
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, whatever. Hollywood's doing weird shit. But that's really the big one for October this year. So we're obviously going to talk about Black Phone 2. We'll get in a little bit just about like horror movies we've liked this year, because there have been some very, very good ones, and then some, you know, I mean, there have been some terrible horror movies, as there always are, but I think there's a couple other ones that are just below incredible, but still like worth a watch kind of thing. But the first thing that we got to get into is that I finally watched the 6-minute video you asked me to watch in episode 1, I think.
6 months ago. 6 months ago, I asked you to watch
so
this.
long ago. I finally watched Ben Affleck in the Criterion Closet. And I also did finally watch Zodiac, which is another thing you asked me to watch, which I finally got to last night. But we will talk about that later. We're going to do a Fincher-focused episode, I think, at some point, so we can talk about how, you know, not spoiler alert, how good Zodiac is. Holy shit, that movie rules. I wish that was the main event today. I would love to be talking about a movie that I loved rather than Black Phone 2. I guess spoilers as well. Anyway, yeah, Ben Affleck. So why do you want to tell me why, like, sum up why you wanted me to watch the Ben Affleck Criterion Closet so badly?
Yes, because okay, here's why I loved the Ben Affleck Criterion Closet. Not only is it because of his like monologue that he gives about Armageddon and how he pretty openly was like, I did not like this movie coming out, but 20 years later, like, I get it. And like my commentary will live on that I never thought in a million years anybody would actually listen to. Like, I loved all of that. But also, okay, so first off, if anyone from the Criterion Closet sees this, you don't need to have every single person who comes into your closet. You can edit out the, oh my God, this is my heaven. We know.
Wait,
Like,
yeah,
we get
yeah,
it that like all of these people who have made films their whole life is excited to be in that closet.
hmm
I know. Like
yeah,
every single time they will not edit out when someone was like, it's just like, this is amazing. I'm overwhelmed. Like they have a
hmm
solid minute of it. And it's just like, duh.
and it's a 5-minute video,
And
and
it's a
they're
five
talking,
minute
yeah,
bit. Yeah.
like,
They're wasting my time at this point.
yeah,
Just let me
yeah,
assume that moment happened and just edit that shit out.
yeah. If we
But
are
like,
watching this, we are also movie crazy people, and we all know what it would feel like to be put into the Criterion Closet and given a bag and told, like, take whatever you want. Like,
yeah,
we all understand immediately what that feeling would be. Every Criterion Collection release is like $40 fucking. If you told me I could go crazy and grab as many as I could, I would, like, maybe pass out from excitement. Like, I get it. I get it. I don't
um,
need Josh Brolin being like, I love movies. This is crazy. Like, no, fuck it.
yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Agreed.
Put out a minute of each video and just get rid of that. Um, but what I really loved about it is you get to see Ben Affleck's like just very like being like overwhelmed, but also just like and like in what I would assume is like his happy place.
Hmm
But like he's just like so like he just still looks depressed. I don't know. Like it's just so weird watching him talk about these movies that he loves, and he just looks
hmm
so sad doing it. Like just
Yeah.
so melancholy that I'm like, what is going? Like, did he just break up with J Lo? Did they film this the day after that? Like, like what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I did actually, like, I went on a little bit of a, like, I watched some other random Criterion Closet videos afterwards as well, just whatever YouTube was feeding me. So I did see, like, the Josh Brolin one. I think I saw Bill Hader. But, like, you have, like Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are in one where they're in there together, and they legitimately are both just, like, giggling sometimes because they're so giddy. Like,
Yeah.
they're just like, oh my God, Jackie Chan. Oh, this is awesome. Oh, they got Police Story. Holy shit. Like, it's great. It's like, I want that level of, like, I love films a little bit more than, yeah, Ben Affleck just being like, oh,
Oh
Miller's
wow,
Crossing.
this
Wow.
is an
Yeah.
amazing film. Like
Yeah.
just
This
this
is,
film changed my life.
yeah. I have a
Let me look
very,
sadly at the camera for a second. Like just like what is going on?
especially the moment it ends is so, like, it perfectly encapsulates that because he picks Elephant Man at the end, and he's like, Elephant Man, yeah, God, this is the only movie where I ever saw my father cry.
Yeah.
So that's very meaningful to me. I think that's a good note to end it on. And you're like, are you okay?
What is wrong with you? Are you just
Oh, I love it. I mean, I will also say, like, the one other comment that I have really about it was just like, Ben Affleck picked a bunch of movies that feel like they totally explain who Ben Affleck is, like, as a writer and as a director. Like, I think, like, a lot of people go into that Criterion Closet and they're kind of trying to flex, like, some, like, film nerd shit where they'll be like, oh, here you go, you've got this really obscure Chinese film from, like, 1965, absolutely incredible, like, I love this one, very influential on me. I stole some of the stuff from my cinematography and blah, blah, blah. But Ben Affleck's just like, Silence of the Lambs rule, Like, he's like, I actually went through and wrote down, because I was like, he picked at least, like, 4 films that are, like, were at least like major Oscar contenders, or like fame. Like Malcolm X is like a famous Oscar snub.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like Denzel Washington not winning for that, but like a bunch of these got nominated for a bunch of stuff. There's some random stuff in here that he picked that was just sort of like, okay, like I hadn't heard of Hollywood Shuffle, but for the most part, it was just sort of like, okay, cool, Train Spotting, Traffic, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like all these just like very popular, very like Hollywood Oscars focused ish like movies that you're just like, yeah, dude, that's who Ben Affleck is. He's a dude who like
Yeah.
if he's writing a new film, it's like I'm trying to get that best director. I'm trying to get that best screenplay Oscar. Like I want this to be a broad audience. So it totally makes sense. And that was nice. It was nice to get a good idea of like what his taste is, through this. Because you do sometimes, like I watched the Jason Bateman one, and Jason Bateman is just kind of going in there and being like, oh, I haven't seen this, but people told me to watch it. And he just picks like a bunch of stuff that he hasn't seen, and you're like, okay, I mean, that's cool. Like, that's great for you. It's not entertaining. Like, for me, I'm like, I would love to hear about how these movies influenced you, but like, that is also, I probably also would, if I was Jason Bateman in that situation, if I was in the closet myself, I would definitely be picking a bunch of stuff that I hadn't seen before. Because it's a free thing. Anyway, though, yeah, for sure the crown jewel is when he talks about Armageddon. I mean, that is the main reason to watch it. And I love that he said that like people come up to him to ask him about the commentary on Armageddon, like about as much as movies that he's made. Like the amount of people who just want to know more about his commentary on Armageddon is roughly equal to the people who are coming up to him and being like, Gone Baby Gone is great, or like I liked Argo a lot, or like, hey man, Good Will Hunting, good job on that. Like,
yeah,
fantastic. I expect nothing less from the movie going public, really. And I'm proud of all of us for making that what Ben Affleck's life is. Is just being forced to talk about this. And God, I miss the 90s, I miss like when we just launched DVDs and people were doing commentaries being like, I don't understand what this is for. Like, why are we doing this? Like no one's ever going to watch this, Now it's like, it's a promo thing. They understand. People are like coming in. I feel like in the 90s, people were like, I'm pretty high, but I guess I could do that commentary now.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And like I don't know, I haven't seen a commentary because like, I don't watch a ton of DVDs anymore. So or like 4Ks anymore. So I haven't seen a commentary not from the early 2000s, I think, ever.
I don't think you have to, I don't think you have to. Because a lot of them, I'm sure there's interesting stuff that is being said. But for the most part, a lot of it is just like, it's way more buttoned up. They're not giving you like super insider, like, oh yeah, man, like, Sydney Sweeney actually hates Glenn Powell or whatever. Like, they're not going to do that. Like,
Yeah. That would
it's
be
just
crazy.
going to be like, this was so fun. It was so fun to film this scene. I really liked it. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
David's
They're
just
not going to be like,
genius.
let me tell you this story about when James Cameron told me to shut the fuck up. Or no, it wasn't James Cameron. Sorry.
Michael Bay.
It was Michael Bay. When Michael Bay told me to shut the fuck up.
I would also, though, love to hear, like, Sigourney Weaver talking about Avatar 2 and her being like, James, does it make sense? And he's like, shut the fuck up, Sigourney. I'm doing my Avatar quadrilogy here. I don't have time for this shit. I believe it. I believe James Cameron tells people to shut up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's a great watch. And if you haven't watched either Armageddon or just like the 2-minute clip of Ben Affleck making fun of Armageddon that's easily available on YouTube on the commentary track for Armageddon, just watch both of those things.
Yeah.
Armageddon still rules. It still makes me cry every time. And I'm not ashamed of that. I was 11 when I saw it. It made me cry. 36 now and still crying. Michael Bay's, I want to say 1998 masterpiece. Okay. Do you have any like recommends or anything you want to do before we get into the horror fest?
I don't think so. Let's just jump in. Yeah. I don't. Do you have one? I don't have something on the top of my head.
No. I hate to say, a lot of the movies that I've seen recently, in particular, like have just not been that great. I don't think I would really recommend almost any of them. You know, quick. Actually, I'll give a quick recommend because I know it's something you did not see, and I'm not going to say that you should see it, but I kind of think that people who are into this should see it. I actually thought Tron Ares was kind of bomb. I thought it was pretty cool. I was kind of into it. Like it's not. I think because you have said you're not particularly into like the Tron aesthetic, like you didn't really love Tron Legacy or
that's
whatever.
Not true. That's not true.
Okay.
The Tron aesthetic is not enough to keep me locked in for 2 hours of a shitty movie.
Yeah.
Right?
I still don't know if I'm going to recommend it to you based on that comment.
Because, like, the first Tron is dope. The one from the 80s is sick.
Mm-hmm.
Then the new one sucked.
Yeah, Legacy was
awful.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know. If it's going to be just as bad as Legacy, it's not really worth my time. But if you're like, actually, it's okay.
I think it's better. It's better than Legacy. I'm going to say that. Like, I think that overall, basically where it succeeds is it looks really cool. All the action sequences are sick. Like, they are really, really well done. And then the dude from Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, like does the soundtrack for it. Like he does with like new like Nine Inch Nails songs like scattered in there, and like the soundtrack fucking rips too, and like works with these action sequences in a way that is really, really cool. And overall, like it is just like a good theme park ride of a movie, you know, that I genuinely enjoyed while I was watching it. However, the story is still kind of stupid. It's not as dumb, I think, as Tron Legacy was, but like it's still a pretty dumb script where it's just sort of like, good CEO want this, bad CEO want this. They both are fighting over Tron universe or whatever, and you're like, okay, you know, whatever. And also Jared Leto sucks. You know, and it does. Yeah. There's one scene particularly at the end that I was just like, it was Jared Leto's like last scene in the movie. It was just like I was just laughing out loud at how bad it is and how bad he is. But it is sort of
I like so bad it's funny. I like that, you know.
It can be funny, and the thing is, like, there's as far as Jared Leto sucking, this is like he's supposed to be kind of an automaton who like doesn't really have feelings. So it's sort of like, okay, he does that fine, you know, for a lot of the movie. There are just moments where he's kind of hilarious because, you know, it's also just like, man, that dude, part of the reason that I think it's hard for him to act a lot of the time is that he's too fucking good looking and just has this like perfect like hair and facial hair and just looks so pretty all the time that you're just sort of looking at him being like, I don't know, I just don't even believe that person's real. Like, it's hard to get over you looking like you are in every scene. It kind of looks like you're about to turn to the camera and be like Calvin Klein, you know, at the end of it. And like, that's it's hard to get over it. But no, that movie, I enjoyed it. I would give that one like a solid B+ in terms of my, like, you know, again, So I wasn't going in with any
Hold on,
higher
hold on, hold on a
expectations.
second. Hold on a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna give Tron Ares that a movie I have not seen, know nothing
Sure.
about, but you just talked about shitty.
Mm-hmm.
The same grade as Sinners? What?
No, you're right. If I give Sinners a B plus,
It's
Tron's like
insane. It's a C.
I mean,
It's a C movie. Embrace the C-ness.
it's a B or a B minus. I will give you that at least. However, again, you grade. You know, I'm gonna pull an Ebert on you. Ebert always tried to grade movies based on like what they were. You know, like for the movie that it is and is trying to be. I think it's a B execution of that. You know, and like you know, look, I've rewatched Sinners since we talked about it. I'd say Sinners is a B plus A minus. It's somewhere in that range. Like it's a high. You know, if we were given here, maybe this will make you feel better. When I say B or B plus, for Tron Ares, that means I give it like an 80. And when I say B plus for Sinners, that means I give it like an 89. Is that better?
So it's a B minus and a B plus.
Sure.
You just described a B minus and a B plus.
All right, you're right, probably. I haven't looked at grading scales for a while. I've been out of college for a bit. Anyway, sure, I'll say Tron.
Hold on. Actually, I forgot. I saw Good Fortune recently. It was the movie with Aziz Ansari, Keanu Reeves, and it was fun. It's not gonna blow you away. It was funny. I liked it. You should see it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I have not seen that one. I was interested in that. Just because I love Keanu Reeves, and he looked like he was pretty funny in that from the trailer.
He is kind of like, if you like Keanu Reeves being funny but being very straight about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's Keanu Reeves. He's trying to play everything very straight, but he's also playing an angel who like loses his powers and has to become human, and like just ridiculous. And he's very funny in this movie.
I do want to see that, and that is kind of my favorite like Keanu Reeves performance at this point in his career. Like I just think, like I love Bill and Ted, but like he's aged out of doing Bill and Ted like as a character.
Oh yeah,
successfully. Yeah. Like if he's doing comedy, I just think it's like he's too old now to be like, I'm gonna do like zany kind of like stoner-ish comedy. Although you know what, Keanu Reeves in Always Be My Maybe is pretty funny, and he's a little bit more zany. Well,
very similar. I think he plays more like he's crazy. He's crazy, but he's very straight crazy, right? Like
that's true.
He's delivering everything like this is normal, and that's what he does here, and he is very funny.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, besides Randall Park's "Bounce It Like a Basketball, Really Any Ball Except a Football" song, which is an absolute classic in terms of in-universe songs and movies. Beyond that, one of the funnier bits of that whole movie is that Keanu gets them an Uber pool.
Oh yeah.
And they're in the Uber pool being like, no, he definitely got us the cheapest option on purpose. Like, anyway. Cool. Well, let's, I think we should just get into the main event at this point. We can maybe do a little bit of just like horror roundup at the end or whatever. But let's do Black Phone 2. Because I saw it, I want to say about a week ago, and you saw it a little bit after that, like a couple days after that, so it's still relatively fresh, for both of us. Do you want to start us off here?
I need to take over.
Somewhat.
Stop talking. Yeah, stop please. Talking. I need to take over right now. So. The day before I went to go see this movie, Alec sent me a text that was like, this is the worst movie of the year. Now, the number of shitty horror movies that you've recommended to me is so high, right? Like if Alec is saying this horror movie is the shittiest movie of the year,
Mhm.
I immediately was like, oh my god, I have to see it. I have to see how bad this is. This is gonna be amazing how bad this is. And I walked in and I sat down, and throughout the movie, I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Mhm.
Like, this is not, it's not good. It's not good. It's a bad movie. It's a
Mhm.
C movie.
Mm.
It's not an F. It's not an F, right? And I watched, so like, you recommended me Night Swim, which is an F.
No.
Yes, yeah,
Swim.
absolutely. Night Swim is so bad. It's
It's like a
so
three.
bad. No, no. Night Swim is fucking terrible. And you were like, it was great. I liked it. I liked it. Yeah. Like,
I
no.
enjoyed it.
And
I
so,
mean, I think it was still bad, but I enjoyed myself. I had a fine time.
like, the acting is bad.
Mhm.
Full stop. The uh the whole plot is stupid.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. They figure shit out that makes no sense way too quickly, and like they don't earn anything with the plot. But and like you could tell that the two adults who were like the side adults,
Mhm.
right? Why are they there? You could tell that they like during filming or like after during editing, they were like, oh, these two adults really aren't working. Can we cut them out of the movie? And the answer was no. They were in too many of the major scenes, just in the
Oh,
background, being like, okay, we can't cut them out completely,
so
but they're not working.
I just want to
Um,
make sure you're talking about the two like more religious people at the camp who like run the front office, the husband and wife duo. Are you talking about them?
who are like, she's the devil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those two. Yes, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. They
bad
suck.
characters. Yeah.
They bad characters, bad acting, bad everything. And you could totally tell that
Unnecessary.
they tried to edit them out of the movie, but they couldn't. Right? Like you could absolutely
Yeah.
tell that.
Yeah.
Um, there's not a lot to like about this movie.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
However, the worst part of this movie is its shitty exposition.
Mm.
Right? Like that's by far the worst part of this movie.
Preach.
And you just have no you have absolutely no patience for that in your horror movies.
Yep. That's it.
So the
You
reason why
nailed it.
this goes from a C to an F for you is they spend too much time with really shitty exposition. When
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
most people would walk away from this movie and be like, it's fine. It's a good C horror movie.
Clearly they did.
And
You know? Yeah.
yeah, like
Like it's got like a 80 something on Rotten Tomatoes audience score and like a 74 with critics or something. Like, yeah, for sure. Like most people definitely are just like, whatever. You know, I'm good. I had fun. But you're right.
yeah, I had fun watching the movie. It's a bad movie, but
Mm-hmm.
there's some good things to it, right? The um
Go over the
like
good things because I'm not going to go over
some
them
of the
because I think it's
cinematography
enough.
is very pretty. The cinematography is very pretty.
Are
Um
are you talking about specifically when it does the like Super 8 like dream sequence kind of thing? The like film
yes, like
quality
that
changes?
whole thing was very cool. Sometimes when
Yeah,
they're trying to
he's
do
good
the
at that.
real world, you could tell it's on a soundstage and it doesn't look that great. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole going from dream sequence to real world and back, all of that was really cool. Um, there's some good horror sequences, right? Like I like the premise of these kids can talk to dead people, and now guess who's dead? The guy
Mm-hmm,
who tortured them. Like
mm-hmm,
that's a cool premise. There, there's some good in this movie, and you
mm-hmm.
couldn't see past it because of the shitty exposition.
I'm not. No, no, no. I'm not going to say. First of all, you said you put it in my mouth that it's an F. I don't know that I'm actually saying it's an F. I'm saying
Hold on,
I think it's an.
bullshit. Nope,
I'm
nope.
saying
We
it's
are
the worst
going to
movie
the
of the
tape.
year.
We are.
I'm saying it's the worst movie of the year. Does that mean it's
That's
an
not
F?
an. How is that not an F? What? That's a ridiculous statement.
Because I don't think,
I didn't hate it. I just think it's the worst movie of the year.
yeah,
What?
yeah, no. That's look. Hey, that's not. There's no movie this year that I think is an F. I haven't given anything an F. I think this is a like D for me. And yes, a lot of it is, you know, personal preference kind of thing, and just sort of a, like, your mileage may vary. But like, for me, as you said, one of the things that is like very difficult to abide by is really bad dialogue and really bad exposition. Like, those two things are just really hard for me to like sit and listen to without just being like, I'm out. I'm out of the movie. They take me out a lot of the time. I'm just like, I'm too hyper aware that I'm watching people on a movie set delivering bad lines of dialogue badly, and that I am being forced to watch that, you know? And I just can't, like, yeah, I can't really move past that in terms of like my enjoyment of the movie. However, I'm not saying that what you said isn't correct. I think that this is a dude who, like, he did Sinister, which has this sort of like grainy Super 8 thing baked into it. Because Ethan Hawke is like watching those videos of that. And then the Black Phone, I should say, also does some of the Super 8 stuff in the little girl character's Gwen, like in her dream sequence. It does that. It's not as extensive because her dream sequences are generally shorter, and less a central part of the plot. However, like, he's good at that, and I think those generally look pretty good. And like, yeah, I think like the costuming and a lot of the set design is pretty decent. You know, there 100% was one shot where I remember it was like Finn is going to the phone booth out on the lake, and I was almost like, I feel like I see the edge of the like painted backdrop of mountains in this shot.
Yeah.
Like, it's so obvious that that's fucking fake. Like, anything past the small bit of lake that they've actually put together. But in other shots, it looks pretty good, actually. Like, it's genuinely not bad. And I think that there's at least, I think there's at least one horror sequence I like. Which is like her first dream sequence in the cabins where the kid ghosts kind of show up, and she gets like burned by the one ghost who got burned alive, and then that super gruesome thing happens with the window, you know, cutting that dude's face in half or whatever. Like, that was a good horror sequence. Which again was then immediately kind of offset by like Finn wakes her up, and this poor young actress has to like scream cry the dialogue of like, I feel like I'm crazy. I feel like I'm crazy. And he's like, you're fine. It's fine. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, again, this is just so like over the top, bad dialogue, bad performances, you know. But yes, the main thing for me is I think that there's far too many scenes in this that are just like some of the worst scenes that I've seen in a movie for like a while, in terms of bad exposition, or just like in terms of like the dialogue and the acting and the framing even between the characters. And the first one for sure is that the heavy exposition scene where they get everyone in like the chapel space, and they have you know, the camp leader basically God, man, there's like, it's all bad because it's all basically like him explaining that like the grabber was a person there, and that they called him Wild Bill Hickok, and then that explains the like WBH that the kids were carving into the thing or whatever, into the ice in the dream sequences. And then, you know, the little girl Gwen basically just sort of explains, because she just knows, like, out of not, there's no explanation for why she knows this in any way. She just sort of goes like, if we find the kids and find the bodies, then that will take away his power and he'll just go away. And you're like, okay, sure.
So and it's so dumb because they could have they could have two goals
Mm-hmm.
that don't need to collide. They could have one goal of we need to get rid of Wild Bill. We need to
Mm-hmm.
take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
We need to kill him in this world so that he's not terrorizing this camp.
Mm-hmm.
And they can also just say we need to find these kids, and now we know where they are, and we can, give these families some closure on this. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they felt like they had to connect those two goals, but
Right.
that was fucking stupid. Like that was
it was very
dumb.
stupid. It was very stupid, and like there are movies that like can sort of successfully do this kind of thing by referencing other things that they've seen in the past. Like you can have like I'm thinking of like the movie The Faculty from like the late 90s. That movie, like basically at some point they're like, how do we defeat the aliens? And they're like, well, in this book or in this movie, if you like kill the queen alien, it like typically gets rid of the other aliens. And they're like, do you think that'll work? And they're like, I don't know. But like, what else are we gonna do? Like we might
Let's
as well try that. And like hopefully it works. That's the kind of like, I'm good with that. But to just have your character be like, I know how to defeat him, and it's this random thing that like we're not going to say that we're not going to reference other movies that do this or other anything. There's just like, we just know because we know, and shut up, and we got to move on, that was bad. And also, man, terrible dialogue in that. There's literally a moment in that scene where the camp director guy, after knowing, like, seeing this girl get, like, thrown around in her dreams and understanding that she has supernatural powers in her dreams, she tells him some stuff about the kids, and he's like, but how would you know that? But how would you know that? And she's like, I just told you. I have psychic trait. Like, are you dumb? What do you mean? Like, why are you... It's just, that's the kind of shit that, like, it's not just bad exposition. It is, like, dialogue that extends scenes that it could absolutely be cut. Where it's, like, that scene feels so long because there's way too much, like, back and forth between characters that, like, does not need to happen. And I felt like that was sort of a general thing that I saw in the movie where it would be, like, a thing would happen, and then the next scene would be like that character telling another character about the thing that just happened. And it's like, why? We don't need that. Cut that shit out. Like, the audience knows. Just cut to them talking the end of that conversation to the point that we actually need. Like, you can just cut and make it clear. This person just obviously told Finn about the dream sequence, and now Finn's being like, what are we going to do? Like, great. Okay, fuck, I also have been contacted by these kids. What's next? So yeah, elongated stuff with that. And just, yeah, really terrible dialogue. The other terrible, terrible dialogue scene for me is when the dad showed up to try and convince them to come back. That scene also felt so long.
I think that was another one where the dad, like, they kind of wanted to cut the dad coming back, but the dad was in the too many shots in the lake scene that, like, they were like, oh yeah, because like all of a sudden he just shows up and it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like he didn't know they were snowed in. How could he have known that? He doesn't know anything about.
He does know that they're snowed in. They do actually say that early in the film. He sees on TV or something that there's like a big blizzard, and then he gets on the phone and he calls in a favor. But you think the favor is just that someone is going to go plow the roads so that his kids can be safe. There's no setting up of like the dad is getting the plow to come to them.
Yeah.
It's just like it kind of just sounds like he's like, hey, can you get the plow up there? Like my kids are there. So yeah, him showing up did suddenly just feel like, oh, he's just been plowing all the roads. Also, hilarious kind of minor thing here, but right at the end, they're about to drive off of the camp. It's like the last shot of the film. The Gwen and her boyfriend, I'm forgetting, Ernesto, I think is this character's name, are in a car that is driving ahead of the plow car.
Yeah, I remember being like, that's so dumb. It's like, why are they doing that?
And I was like, look, it's clear that he kind of plowed the roads, but like it's still snowing. Like, put the fucking plow car ahead of the regular car. Are you insane? Like, he's in like an old Cadillac. Like, that shit is not gonna fucking get traction. Anyway,
No.
doesn't very dumb.
I also vividly remember thinking that. Like,
yeah,
like this is so stupid.
They couldn't switch the positions of the cars at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Back to that dialogue scene. Also very bad. Also, it's just, to me, it was like exacerbated because it's like bad dialogue being delivered by very young actors who like just don't have the chops for this level of bad dialogue yet, you know? And then the dad who like is just not a good character and like not well developed. Like in the first one, he's like an alcoholic who's like beating his kids. And you know, and then in this, and at the end of the movie, he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for everything." So you kind of have set up like he might be trying to, you know, right his ways or whatever. But you know, it's just sort of like a quick, like he's just a good dad now, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, so he's not a great character either. But I think it's exacerbated by the fact that like for some reason they've decided that the way to frame these characters is like Dad's gonna be way over here. And then Finn's gonna be like way over there, and the daughter's gonna be way over there. They're gonna be standing in this like crazy triangle formation, far away from each other, so we can never get a two-shot of anybody. We're just gonna have to do like singles on one to singles on another to singles on another, and just keep cutting like this while everyone delivers their shitty monologue to each other. And like, man, does that look bad. And have like no energy and just feel really slow. And genuinely, I'm like, did they film that separately? Like, were they like, we gotta note that people don't understand this dumb thing that happens, so we need more time, you know?
Like, we need more shitty exposition.
We need more shitty exposition. I genuinely can consider, I think that might have been a thing. That they were like, Gwen finds out, jumping into another thing that's very stupid, finds out that the grabber actually killed her mom, who committed suicide in the first one. Which is not a thing we see on screen in the first one. They just say it. The dad just goes, you know, she had psychic powers and it drove her crazy and she killed herself. They retcon that to be like, actually, she found the grabber, and then the grabber kind of uncharacteristically got her and then made it look like a suicide, you know, which is like, he's successfully been killing people and burying them in a basement. I don't really know why suddenly this is the one he has to like make look like a suicide, but whatever. You know, but I can see them having a note where they were like, hey, Gwen never tells them about their mom or something. And they're like, well, we got to put in a scene where Gwen tells the dad and Finn about the mom, and, you know, they can talk more about, like, their trauma, and she can give them a lot of shit for smoking weed. And compare Finn's, like, smoking weed, self-medicating for trauma to their dad's alcoholic abuse, which was kind of fucked up. I remember watching that scene being like, Gwen's being kind of a bitch to Finn right now. Like, this is not cool. Like, that dude is severely traumatized, and it is the 80s, and, like, there is no psychological help for somebody like that. Like, let him have a joint to go to sleep at night. Like, it's, you know...
Yeah, like...
I know this is the Reagan era where they were all like, no drugs, you know, but, like, damn, a little harsh, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So those are, I think, the worst two scenes. But look, hey, beyond the dialogue, I think we got to talk about the supernatural shit, because that's another part where it really falls apart for me. And this is
really,
yeah. Well, it's
like what?
Connected
what
to
the crazy supernatural thing doesn't make sense. That's really gonna bog you down. Like...
No. Let me explain, because I think this directly relates to what you were saying about like the plot stuff doesn't make sense. Okay, so like,
okay,
all right. Let's go to... So I rewatched The Black Phone just to sort of remember my feelings about that movie. And, like, you like that movie, right? I like that movie.
I really enjoyed that movie. That movie, that's a solid B+ horror movie. Like, that's a great movie.
Yeah, I genuinely think that is a good movie. I think that there are, like, some little things here and there where you're sort of like, maybe that dialogue's not great, but it's like so much less than anything that happens in Black Phone 2, and for the most part, like none of it really bothers me. It doesn't like really affect the plot in any ways. But like, okay, as I was watching the Black Phone, here's what I started to notice about the supernatural stuff.
Hold on, keep talking. I just have to run to the bathroom, but I'll hear you.
Okay, cool. So when I was watching the Black Phone, there's supernatural stuff that happens that's kind of random. And by random, I just mean that there's no clear like rules, really being laid out about it. There's not like any kind of attempt to explain it. So like notably, there's no like real bad exposition about like how Finn is able to hear the phone ringing, really, or any of that. But there are like some kind of minor inconsistencies within the supernatural stuff in the Black Phone. It's kind of like, Finn can hear the phone and he can talk to the ghosts on the phone, but he can't see any of the ghosts, but the audience can see the ghosts as they're sort of like walking behind Finn in the frame most of the time, except for one ghost who he absolutely does see in a jump scare moment. So it's like the ghost can physically appear, at least maybe that one can, but for the most part they don't. And then there's another ghost in there who like spins a bottle around and like points a bottle up at the window to kind of show him, that he should like basically try to escape through that window. So like that ghost can, interact with the physical environment. I'd assume maybe the other ones can't, or else you might have a question of like, why don't they help attack the grabber or whatever, But like these are things that like don't really affect the plot, Like they're just sort of put in there because they're like cool jump scares or like cool horror visuals with the bottle spinning around, And like in also like the Gwen characters dream stuff is just sort of like they're not trying to explain it really. There's like her mom had it, she has it, she sees this stuff in the dreams. The dream sequences work however we want, like we don't really care. And it's like cool, she sees stuff in her dreams. There's also then one moment kind of right near the end where like she's seen the grabber's house in a dream, so she's on her bike trying to find it, and like the ghosts of the 4 or 5 kids who have gotten killed like pop up and do a jump scare, like when she's awake. So it's like, oh, out of nowhere, she can also maybe see this ghost when she's awake and not asleep. But like, it just doesn't like none of that super affects the plot, right? It's just like these things are just sort of like, it's not great writing, but it doesn't really matter, Like they work visually and they're interesting, so you can kind of just overlook it. When it comes to Black Phone 2, like the supernatural stuff feels like they are setting up a lot of rules for it because they're basically doing Nightmare on Elm Street, right? They're kind of doing a Nightmare on Elm Street rules thing. And like the first 2 scenes that you see with Gwen and her dream sequences, she is dreaming and also sleepwalking through the physical space that she is dreaming. So like she has an actual like perfect dreamscape of like her neighborhood going to the grabber's house, and she wakes up in the grabber's basement, after sleepwalking there. And then the next one is she's sleepwalking. There's a admittedly pretty cool horror sequence where the grabber then like interacts with her in her dream, and they have those like giant industrial ovens in like the kitchen.
Another really cool scene, a really fun scene.
A pretty cool. I will say, to me, that one's lessened a little bit for me because it's a little too heavy of an homage to the beginning of Nightmare on Elm Street. It looks like visually, it looks incredibly similar to like some of the beginning scenes of Nightmare on Elm Street with like her flying around. So like in terms of originality, I just dock it a little bit, but like I think it does look good and it's an effective scene. But basically, okay, we've set up like this is her sleepwalking and her dreaming go hand in hand, right? Like these are things, and even the characters are acknowledging this. They're like, we have to stop you from walking around and being attacked in this physical space, and that'll prevent you from being attacked in your dream environment. And they station people by her, and then they're just like, that doesn't really matter anymore. She can now just go anywhere in her dream sequence, and it just still looks like she's laying down. And the I think they have near the end of that dream sequence, they have the grabber say some kind of vague bullshitty line of like, "This isn't a dream, this is my hell," or something like that. And you're like, okay, I guess, I don't know, whatever. And then, but the major thing for me is they have set up very clearly that it's like she is in her physical environment, and also the grabber can get her in the dream environment, right? And then very quickly it turns into the next dream sequence that she has after that one where the grabber shows her that her mom is actually a murder victim of his. The next dream sequence is she sees that the camp director guy is out there digging up a body on the ice, and the grabber shows up behind him with a hammer, and now he's able to just affect the physical environment and like attack people who are not dreaming.
No. I always thought that was hold on. But I always thought that was the case. Because in the oven scene, the people can attack him. They just can't see him. Right?
Do they actually hit him in the oven scene? I don't remember that part. I remember him.
I thought so.
Maybe maybe I missed that detail.
I thought the brother grabbed something and swung it where he thought he would be, and it hit him. That's what I remember.
Oh, I remember that happening later on the lake scene.
That's how
missing that detail.
That's how she falls. Is somebody figures out where he would be and hits him.
Okay. Sure.
Right?
Sure.
That's why she falls to the ground. And so I always thought that he can do whatever the fuck he wants as long as it's at night, really. Like, I guess he only comes out at night, maybe, but like, whatever.
Which again is like, that should be connected to the dreaming thing. But if he's a ghost who can affect anyone at any time, why wouldn't he be around during the day? Maybe because of their
connection that he can only impact people while she's dreaming.
That could be something. But what I'm saying, I think what we're hitting on still kind of belies my point here of just like, even if there is one moment that kind of makes that last part make a little more sense, they're just setting up some shit that feels like it needs to be explained like a lot more, and that just feels kind of inconsistent. And especially the moment where she like doesn't.
So now you're saying you want more shitty exposition. Come on.
No. I am saying that they created a situation that like now basically requires you to think too much about what's going on. You know? Like, I think basically, like, again, you can go back to the Black Phone 1 and say, like, there's a moment where a child ghost affects the physical environment and, like, spins a bottle around. That does open up the plot to the question of, like, why aren't those child ghosts, like, trying to attack the grabber then? Or, like, haunt the grabber in some way, you know, if they can affect the physical environment. However, it's so quick, and it's such a, like, throwaway, like, little visual thing that it's just really easy to overlook that, you know? Whereas, like, now they've basically made it, like, a huge part of the third act is that the grabber and the ghosts can affect anyone in the physical environment at any time. And that just opens up a lot of, like, questions like, yeah, again, why isn't he attacking people during the day? You know, he's in a ghost. Can he only come out at night? Is he drawing power from Gwen somehow? Like, all of those are now just things that kind of start to demand a little more explanation. And, like, yeah, I can both say the exposition that they have is bad and not necessary, and also say there are also some places where it would be cooler if they kind of spent a moment, like, deciding how this worked at the very least, you know? And just saying...
I think they did decide how this works. You just don't think they did a good job of telling the audience this is how it works. And, like, I have to say, I did not think about this at all. None of what you just said affected me while watching the movie. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, cool, cool scare scene. Let's go.
The moment where they're like, we'll protect you by keeping you in bed, because that's clearly the rules that we have set up for how this works. And then they're just sort of like, whatever. She now just gets up and she looks back at herself as if it's like an astral projection thing when it was clearly a sleepwalking thing before. It just like didn't matter to you at all. It just felt like
Didn't think about it for a second.
Wow. To
Didn't
me,
think
that's
about it for
just
a
sort of
second.
like, that's the kind of thing that to me, I usually expect you to like hop on and be like, what? Why? You know? Those are the kind of little logical inconsistencies that I feel like
I think it's because you set my expectations so low.
That could absolutely be it. That could absolutely be it. Yeah. Maybe you were just sort of like, it's not like I had super high expectations coming into this. I was just sort of like, this might be fine. You know, I liked Black Phone. This seems like it could be scary. You know? But like, yeah. The expectations severely dropped with all the really terrible dialogue and exposition, and then on top of it, just these little logical things that I'm just sort of like, I don't really get it. You know, I don't really understand what's happening. You know, the only other thing I'll say is just the last scene where the mom calls her on the phone felt very unearned as well. And was just a lot more.
Well, so about that scene, I got it, but then all of a sudden it was like she was like, I have to go, and I was like, where the fuck are you going? You're dead. Like, what are you talking about? I have to go. That part was stupid to me. Where like, of course they're gonna have a scene where the mom calls her and tells her that she loves her and all that jazz. But like, to end that scene, be like, I have to go, and I'm like, what? Where are you going? Like, that made no sense, and that actually made me giggle. Wow, that's stupid. That's how you're gonna end this conversation. Yeah. Not like, you know, I get it. You don't want to show the audience like this woman talking on the phone for like this bad actress talking on the phone for a half hour to her dead mom.
Mm-hmm.
But like you could just cut and like have the end be like, I'm so glad we got to catch up. I'm so proud of you. Tell your brother I love you. Not like, I can only be on this phone for a minute because like,
that's actually what you just said is probably the number one note I would have given to the people writing this script and editing this movie. You could just cut instead. You don't have to have all of this. You could just cut and like
it could be 20 minutes shorter.
Allow the audience to kind of like understand on their own accord. Like, give the audience some amount of respect and just cut instead of then being like, because even after that, the scene. Oh, sorry. One quick aside here with the mom on the phone. I also just sort of thought it was funny when she was like, "But I'm living with this like curse," you know. And the mom's like, honey, it was never a curse. It was a blessing. And I'm sitting there like, it's kind of a curse, Mom.
It killed you.
It killed you and severely endangered your daughter. Like, a lot. Like, she was almost thrown into an industrial oven by a ghost murderer. Like, I'm sorry. I know she helped 3 ghost boys along the way, but it can be both a curse and a blessing. Like, let's not fucking pretend like this is now, you know, she has superpowers. This is gonna haunt her for the rest of her life. Anytime she's in a town with dead kids, they're gonna be contacting her through, which is every town. She's gonna get contacted through dream sequences. Like, this will be fucked up for a while. Anyway, but again, it's like, you could just cut. They have that whole scene with her on the phone with her mom. And then they're like, she needs to also now have a scene where she walks over to Finn and with some music playing, because we don't even really want to write the dialogue for this, she'll just, like, for a good 15 to 20 seconds, be whispering what just went down in the conversation that you all just watched to her brother, and we'll just watch the brothers, like, frankly, he's 18 years old as an actor. He doesn't have that interesting of a reaction to it, but it's like really heavily relying on like maybe this kid will act the shit out of this reaction to this news that she talked to her mom, and he's just sort of standing there like, yeah, fuck, crazy, you know, like again, just cut. We can assume that characters told other characters things at some point. Like we can assume that information, you know. Oh boy. Yeah, I really hated this. This is a D for me. I think it is the worst. It's currently number 46 out of 46 on my worst films of the year. And like there's some bad films on here for sure, but like I just think none of them so far this year have been F level. I really do try to reserve F for like things that I just find like are unwatchable, like barely movies, you know. And that have to me like no redeeming values to them, you know, like no good aspect of it. Like that's what should define an F to me. And yeah, I'm not saying this has absolutely no redeeming values, but to me it's a D. Like I can't watch this again, personally. You know, I could not sit through this.
All right, you're beating a dead horse now. We have to move on.
All right. Well, what are you giving it?
I think it's a C.
Is it C?
I think
okay.
This is the definition of a C minus movie. It's I would never recommend it to someone else, but like I didn't hate watching it. Like it's a C.
Okay. I mean, again, you're more in line with the general consensus for this. All right. So, do you want to go over just sort of general? Because, like we said, there's a few horror things that are going to come out. You know, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, I think, is out in some theaters now, and will be coming to Netflix pretty shortly. Like in November, there's a new Osgood Perkins coming in November, called Keeper. I'm sure there's some other random little horror movies that are coming out along the way. I'm sure like Shudder will have releases, etc. But for the most part, at the end of October, I can say I think we've pretty much seen the horror stuff for the year, and we can get a good sense of how we feel about it. Do you want to talk about any of just like do you have some like standouts or anything, or just just in general? Do you feel like this is a good horror year?
So I think this is an interesting horror year, and here's why. So as of this moment, 3 of my top 5 movies of the year are horror.
Yeah, same for me.
Right? 28, and I'm sure it's the same 3. 28 years later, Weapons and Sinners.
Sinners is not in my top 3. It's not the same 3. I have Bring Her Back in my top 5.
Oh, that's right. You love yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Which Bring Her Back, I will say it's an amazing movie. I fucking hated it. It's so good at what it does. And the second that little kid starts torturing himself, I'm just like, I'm out. I hate this. This sucks. Yeah. I don't want to be watching this on a big screen.
Oh yeah, the scene with the knife where he bites into the knife or whatever. That's
With, yes. But yeah, I was this close to walking out just to be like,
it's messed up.
It's a great movie, but it's not for me. But I kind of wanted to see how it did. So I will never see that movie again. It's not in my top 10. It's not going to be in my top 10. But if it ends up in your top 10, that makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
But and so
Sherlock's here.
It's actually my neighbor's dog Leia who were.
Hey. We got dog friends in the house. We got dog friends on the pod. But yes,
and so
bring her back. I understand that too.
Yeah, so like we have, and I think this is the first time where I'm like, man, some of the best movies this year are horror.
Yeah,
and it's obvious that that studios are willing to give money to like really great filmmakers to make horror movies because they're delivering in the box office. And I'm very curious as to how that plays out moving forward. Are we going to see more, is Greta Gerwig going to do a horror movie someday? Because that's where the money is. is Christopher Nolan going to do a horror movie? Is, you know, like I'm I would be shocked if moving forward at least one or two horror movies doesn't make my top 10 every year, because it seems like studios are really excited to put money into horror, and if great filmmakers have good ideas for horror movies, that they're going to get made.
100%. 100% agree. And I think, what you're sort of getting at too is like beyond the Oscar potential, race kind of like drama films. Kind of like indie movies to sort of larger budget movies that are like, going to potentially get into that awards race and don't even necessarily have to, like, in an initial theatrical run, make a ton of money, because the Oscars will then put them back into theaters for like extended runs. And typically, if you get even an Oscar nomination, your movie then makes like, I think something like $10 million more dollars, generally speaking, at the box office at the very least, and then streaming. I don't know how exactly all that factors in, but beyond those types of films, I do think that horror is one of the few places where people can just sort of come to movie studios with like an original idea and an original script and get a pretty decent amount of money to make that thing, without it being attached to like an IP or anything like that. Like obviously we will have, and I'll throw I think sci-fi is in there as well. We kind of like, before the pod, we were mentioning like a movie we both really like is like Companion, which was also, I think, produced by Zach Kreger, who did Weapons. That movie has, like, maybe there's some horror elements, but it's not really a horror. It's more of a sci-fi movie. And, like, those also are getting, like, some pretty decent budgets and some good releases for having, like, original ideas in that space. But beyond horror and sci-fi, there's not, like, a ton of other big releases. Maybe you throw thriller in there as well. There's a little bit of that, but like the action movies are pretty much all going to be, attached to IP. A lot of the comedy and kids movies are generally attached to IP. It's just sort of like horror is a space that really does sort of foster that.
And I think like, because like you mentioned sci-fi, and I think Companion is not the kind of sci-fi, and I'm interested to see if there's going to be more, AI sci-fi that just looks like a person and it's like pretty cheap to make. But historically, sci-fi is so expensive, and I can only think of one big budget original sci-fi movie that's come out in the last 10 years. And I'm not saying it's the only one, but like the big budget sci-fi movies that we're seeing is like Dune, Star Wars, Star Trek. You can probably count like the Avengers movies and like that's all sci-fi-y.
It's adjacent for sure.
Yeah. But I think the only one, and I'm blanking on the name of it, it's by the same guy from Rogue One. And I liked it, and you didn't like it.
The Creator.
The Creator is the only big budget
visually
sci-fi
looked
movie.
amazing, by the way. Like, I'll give that, like, that, I love the fact that got a big budget to look as good as it did. I just didn't really like the plot very much, but.
Yeah. That is the only, like, big budget sci-fi movie that's original. When every year we're seeing good original horror. And I do think it's because of that price point. I think it's because to make a good original epic sci-fi movie, you're going to need hundreds of millions of dollars. But to make a good, cool, original horror movie, you can do it for 20. You can do it for 30. Like that's perfectly in the range of, if you do it, if you have zombies, you might spend half your money on makeup, but like you could still do it for under 50, when I don't think that's possible with really cool sci-fi.
Yeah. What you're saying makes total sense. I mean, I think for example, like, I don't know the exact budget numbers to earnings, but if I'm remembering vaguely off the top of my head, I think something like Bring Her Back, which I think is an A24 or a Neon release. I don't know how wide it went exactly, but the budget for that's something like 15, I would say, and I think it made about 40. So
Yeah.
like, okay, cool, you did it.
Yeah.
Like you
It's
made
a hit.
your money
Yeah,
back.
that's all
That's
you
a hit.
need.
That's all you need. You don't need like a huge audience to go see it. You got some, good reviews and a decent, amount of money back from that. Weapons, I think, relatively similar. Made more money than Bring Her Back for sure, but a little. I think that's Weapons is somewhere closer to like 100, I would guess off the top of my head, and I would guess the budget for that was like 20 to 30. So like that all just financially makes sense. And it does kind of suck that it feels like sci-fi movies have now caught up to like where sci-fi TV was. Like famously you have like Firefly in the early 2000s, which is like one of the best shows ever made, but is just too goddamn expensive. And they canceled after one season, And I feel like that's the same mentality now for sci-fi movies, whereas, yeah, you definitely had a lot more sci-fi kind of stuff back then. But, you're right. Like maybe, well, I'd say, yeah, the other thing that I think I like kind of put in there in terms of like, it's a sci-fi movie, maybe it has some horror elements, was The Gorge for Apple TV. That also seemed like it maybe didn't have a huge budget. That's also, actually, it's also Scott Derrickson, the guy who did Black Phone 2. So, name director, not even an actual release in theaters, but of sci-fi that could be done with like some less money,
I mean, that was still $70 million.
Damn, that was
The
$70
Gorge.
million. I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, like all of the monsters are CGI. Like that's expensive shit.
That is very
And
expensive shit.
Apple TV, like it got a theatrical release, but like for a weekend. It didn't even try to make that money back in the box office.
Yeah.
Is what I remember.
Yeah. I'm sure they're just, I don't know exactly how they're hoping it works, but just to make that money back in like ad revenue from people watching it or people signing up specifically because they heard there's a cool movie on Apple TV. At this point, it's really hard to figure out, like, does somebody actually sign up specifically just to watch The Gorge on Apple TV and, like, pay money for that? I'm sure there are some people out there, but, like, I know for me, it's usually more like, hey, like, I kind of want to watch this movie and, like, maybe I'll sign up for this for a month. And, but then I actually am, like, looking to see if there's anything else I'm interested in, or else I'm just going to try to get a free trial and cancel it, So,
yeah.
I really don't know how the finances work for all of that stuff. That's something we should look into as people who like podcasts about movies.
I probably won't do that, if I'm being honest. Nah, I don't want
It'd be
to.
interesting to know. But yeah, I think I'm with you on like having 3 movies that are in the top 5 makes this a great horror year. I think that horror is a space where there's way, way too much horror being made, and that's not just like a recent thing with like a Shudder streaming service or a Screenbox streaming service where like people are getting paid to make movies that are just going on this and have like much smaller budgets. This is going back to like there was the whole secondary video rental market which was just flooded with shitty horror movies, back when we were growing up. So like there's always been too much horror and too much bad horror. It's just that those movies are a lot more accessible to us now. Like I don't have to go to Blockbuster and individually rent a really shitty horror movie. I can just pay Shudder a yearly fee and watch all the shitty horror movies I want, Like, so that makes it so I see a lot more, and I mostly look at my year-end horror list when I look at it through. It's about the same this year as it was last year and the year before, where it's like I've got maybe a few that are in the top 10 for me, and then generally speaking, they're near the bottom of the list. It's just the whole bottom half of the list is just like, here's all the bad horror movies that I watched because I don't have self-respect. But off the top of my head, I think this year has more of those top line horror movies for me, just because of the fact that we have 28 years later, Bring Her Back, Weapons, Sinners, and I would throw in to that conversation, although they're a step below those four for sure for me. I would say the movie Together was a really, really cool body horror movie that did some interesting stuff and was really funny at times. And The Monkey, which I know you also saw, which is also like a very, very darkly comic Osgood
The
Perkins
Monkey.
movie.
So in my top 20 is Presence, which I know you didn't see, but it was I really liked it.
Yeah, Steven
The
Soderbergh,
Monkey.
right? Yeah.
The Long Walk, which I would describe as dystopian horror.
Yeah, it's Stephen King, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Usually you put it in horror.
And then Weapons, Sinners, 28 Years Later. So 6 of my top 20 is horror movies. And like that is very high. You know,
That's
like
pretty damn good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've liked a lot of horror this year.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not always a given for me. It's just not.
For sure. And I think in particular, honestly, like sometimes the absolute best things like really do color the entire year. And I would say even the sort of like 5 or 6 that I listed there, to me, having a year with 28 Years Later and Weapons, even like forget the rest of them and however you might feel about them, you know, just those two alone kind of color the rest of the year as like, no, that was a good year for horror because of how much I loved those two films alone.
And I think we have to. So I think it's important, and I think it goes back to like where studios are willing to put money. And it's interesting because we could have, for maybe the first time ever, I just looked back to 1990. So since 1990, 2 horror films have been nominated for Best Picture. Silence of the Lambs, and then last year's The Substance.
Oh yeah. Was
Get
Out not nominated for Best Picture?
Oh, you're right. I missed that. Okay, 3. Get Out. You're right.
Yep.
But Us wasn't nominated, and Nope wasn't nominated, right? I don't think either of them were.
No, I don't even think those got screenplay nods or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 3 movies in the past 25 years that I would describe as horror who've been nominated for Best Picture. We could have, I think Weapons is a long shot. I think it might get nods for like for Best Screenplay. And I don't know if it's original or adapted. I have no idea.
It's original. Should be original.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it might be in the play for Best Original Screenplay, but I know that Sony is going to push it. Like Sony is going to give it an Oscar push. And it's not going to be as big as Sinners. But like at this point, I would be shocked if Sinners isn't nominated. And to have 2 horror films nominated for Best Picture back to back, I think shows that this is a genre that is really developing and doing a better job of playing with bigger themes that the Academy really like will cue in on. And like I am fully expecting for the next 10 years or so to have several horror movies in my top 10 because of this.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what I think is cool about horror right now is that there's, you know, like we said, there's always been a lot of really bad horror being made. And there's always horror. I will say, even in my list of bad horror, there are probably things that like other people really, really like. And it's because they're a different type of horror fan than I am. Like I appreciate more psychological horror. I appreciate things that tend to like I think Bring Her Back did a really great job with this, tend to explore large themes like grief and trauma and shit like that, which I know some other horror fans are just sort of like, I'm tired of that. I've seen it too much now. Every film's about trauma or whatever, like, you know, move on.
But the one thing I don't I don't need the one thing I don't need with horror now is if you are going to center the whole movie around grief and trauma and how horrifying that is, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. What I really don't need is I don't need to know the trauma of the bad guy's backstory. Right? If you're trying to do a slasher film, like if the new Scream is like but actually the man behind the Scream mask had this childhood trauma. I'm like, I don't fucking care.
No.
Right? Yeah. Like I don't give a shit.
It's misplaced.
That is completely misplaced. And I feel like too many slasher films are like, we need to round out this antagonist. And I'm like, no, you don't. You need the antagonist to kill some motherfuckers. And that's it. Like, that's all I need.
Yep. Let's please just do Halloween and let's stop trying to do Scream all the time. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, Scream, I guarantee you, Scream is a smarter, better script than your movie. And Halloween is a lot easier to do. You know, as great as Halloween is, and it's not easy to do Halloween, it's an easier thing to write than anything like Scream is. But like, there are people who are not into that kind of thing, who are not into Bring Her Back. Like you even said, you're like, that's not a movie for me. I recognize it's a good movie, but it's not for me. There are people who are just like gore hounds. They're the people who are like, I want to see Terrifier 3, and like, I don't really give a shit about like the plot or anything, as long as you're just giving me set pieces where somebody gets dismembered in a horrifying way. Like, to me, those always end up low on my list, because I'm like, I don't care. I don't care that you're great at practical effects. I'm kind of tired of it. Like, there's too much of this. I've seen too much of it. It's fine. I prefer things that have a little bit more, that kind of classic jump scare kind of thing, is great. And like ghosts and, supernatural things are generally more my bag. Even a slasher, like I liked this movie. I don't think it's a great movie by any means. But I think it was like a well-executed version of this movie called Night of the Reaper, which was just sort of like a good slasher, I think it did, again, fall a little bit too much into like, maybe we're exploring the pathos of the villain too much at the end, but it was relatively light on that compared to some other stuff I've seen. It had a pretty decent plot twist, and it just did the classic, like, babysitter being stalked by a murderer thing pretty well. But it wasn't like, and when people get killed, they will have their, like, heart come out of their chest, and then the killer will eat the heart or some shit. It was just sort of like, stab, and we're done, kind of thing. And, like, that's more my speed. I like that more. When it's just the tension is more the focal point rather than the like violence and the gore. Even though violence and the gore can be incredibly effective when done very well. But yeah, overall, it's like it's a wide tent and there's kind of something for every type of horror fan, and that makes it a really great place where you can just sort of reliably kind of expect like someone is putting money into making horror films that I specifically like, even if I'm only into this one kind of horror niche. Yeah. Are you looking up Night of the Reaper, by the way?
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yeah. It's on Shudder. It's like, I think you're gonna say it's like a C movie. Which I would say it's maybe like a C+ or like a B-.
I don't have Shudder, and I probably will never.
Pay
for it.
Then you know what? So, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna even go say it's not worth getting it. It's not worth doing a free trial. It's just like it's a little bit better than a lot of the other stuff that I've seen, and it just fits my taste a little better.
Makes sense.
But yeah, man. I mean, we're in a good place for horror. Definitely a better place. When we did that Blockbuster roundup, we were both like, blockbusters are not a great place right now. Financially, I think they're doing fine. Obviously, they're blockbusters.
No, just like quality-wise, they are just not. They're not quality-wise. Blockbusters are not doing what horror is currently doing. And if you were to go back 10 years, I would have reversed that statement. Blockbusters were killing it, and horror was middle.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you ask me what, I am sure there are some standout horror movies from like the 2010s But beyond Get Out, I struggle to think of another one off the top of my head. I think Us came out in like 2019, so we can throw Us into there as well. So it's like, if you're moving past Jordan Peele, I'm starting to have a hard time coming up with like absolute fucking killer horror movies from that era. So totally agree with you. I think it's totally flipped. And we will, honestly, the next time we talk, we're going to continue to get to talk about horror a little bit more, because I think we're going to try and do a Fincher episode next.
No. I vote we hold Fincher until his new movie comes out. I think next we have to talk about the new Predator movie that's coming out.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, like, because I'm so excited for this. I'm gonna rewatch Prey. I am all in on the new Predator movie, and I'm so pumped about it. It looks sick.
Yeah. Dan Trachtenberg, very underrated filmmaker. I loved 10 Cloverfield Lane. I loved Prey. So excited for Predator Badlands.
It comes out next week. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That might be our next.
That is absolutely our next thing. We gotta talk about Predator Badlands. I mean, I think then after we'll say, when's the new Fincher coming out? Do you know?
It's 2026.
Oh shit. Okay. We'll hold off on Fincher for a while then.
I mean, we don't have to. It's just.
No, it's fine.
It's just we definitely have what we're talking about next.
Yeah. It should definitely be Predator. We'll also, I think, maybe save this for next time to actually talk about it a little bit more, because I'm sure we will have come down from the high of it. We definitely need to end by just saying, go Bulls! Top of the East!
Undefeated, baby!
Undefeated!
What's going on?
No one knows! Kobe White's not even playing yet!
No one understands what's going on.
Nobody, even on the Bulls. The Bulls are like, we have the number 2 defense or whatever. Like, what the fuck? How is that possible? How? I know we played the Orlando Magic and they can't shoot, but like, come on. There's 3 other games. How are we the number 1 defense? I can't name a single guy on the Bulls that I'm like, oh, but he's such a good defender. It makes up for everybody else. No, there's no one. There's no one individually.
Well, this will be interesting, because tonight we play the Knicks, and we could get just destroyed by the Knicks.
Yeah, so we'll do a slight Bulls corner maybe next time after we get just actually bashed in by like a couple good teams, and we can come down from the high. But like we gotta just for one moment say we are at the top of the East standings, and boy does it feel good to be back here after many years. And I think we should end the season now. No one believes in us.
Stop the count. Stop the count.
Next man up. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us for this talk where I just shit on
for our fan singular. For our singular
for our fan. We love you, fan. And have a great rest of the day. And a happy Halloween, everybody.
So, yeah, the Halloween, we're not putting this up today. The Halloween that already happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Halloween yesterday or whenever.
Yes. Yeah. That just happened.